Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Django Unchained, starring Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, and Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson, directed by Quentin Tarantino. Now, I remember seeing this a day after Christmas when it was released with my mother's boyfriend and my uncle. Well, I'm not going to count their opinions, but I remember seeing it with them and being a little shocked. Won't explain that on the show, but let's just get right into this movie because this is going to be... Yeah, let's just get into it. We open with Django, played by Jamie Foxx, in chains and as a slave, while white slave owners call him the N-word. Please don't make me say it because it's not my favorite word. So let's call them motherfuckers. I don't believe in slavery, just like Dr. King Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz. And I like the scene when we first meet Dr. Schultz and asks the two brothers that have Django to buy him and his freedom from slavery. And the brothers refuse until Dr. Schultz shoots one brother and another nag, which means a horse, and frees the other slaves and Django, and that was a fantastic opening. The dialogue is pure gold. Mr. Tarantino pulls violence and dialogue with characters we care about off very well. I found the bar scene absolutely fucking hilarious, particularly since Dr. Schultz shoots the sheriff before the bartender calls for the marshal, and a woman falls down fainting, which was hilarious in a bizarre kind of way. Then the marshal shows up and tells him about the bounty of the sheriff, which was Christoph Waltz's performance was very convincing. A second Oscar win, best deserved. I like the fact that the MacGuffin of this movie is Django's wife, Broomhilda, a German African played by Kerry Washington, who's another character I like, and I love Kerry Washington as an actress. I was first aware of her in this movie called Save the Last Dance all those years ago, and hell, I reviewed her before in those two Fantastic Four films, and to this day, I love her as an actress. Django and Dr. Schultz find the people responsible for Django and Hildy, I'm going to just call her that for the rest of the movie, and to become slaves and whipping them by the Brittle Brothers, and both Django and Dr. Schultz shoots and kills them all. And I love the shot when Dr. Schultz shoots Ellis and his blood, that's one of the brothers, and his blood goes on the flowers. Just a fantastic shot. I love the way that scene with some racist motherfuckers with bag heads, and Jonah Hill is in this scene, as in Superbad's Jonah Hill in this scene. And the music from the Japanese movie called Battle Royale plays, and they criticize a man's wife for making the bag heads until Django and Dr. Schultz shoot the motherfuckers down. That scene is absolutely fucking hilarious. We move on 25 minutes, which was rather boring, and we meet Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's absolutely tremendous in this movie, but his character is a very evil man. DiCaprio pulls that off very well, as he owns a land called Candyland, and that's when the movie kicks into gear with the plot. And it is a long movie at 2 hours and 45 minutes, and 25 minutes should have been cut out in my opinion. Steven, played by Samuel L. Motherfucking Jackson, is introduced, and he is my favorite character in this movie. Not in the best, but my favorite number two. Number one is still Jules Winfield from Pulp Fiction, but as for him in this movie, he has the best scene in the movie when we get introduced to him, to Django, and he's disgusted and with his presence. And I love Samuel motherfucking Jackson, second best compared to Pulp Fiction. I love his line too. Just who the hell are you calling a snowball, horse boy? Let's move on from. Dr. Schultz asks to see Hildy because she speaks German as well as English, and they talk about her rescue, and gets Django to show himself, and he says, "Hey, little troublemaker." And I found that scene quite comforting. I thought the scene at the dinner table was pretty damn intense, particularly since Steven finds out Hildy knows Django, and as Steven finds out, I thought, oh shit, they're fucked. And he tells Calvin, and Calvin brings a skull to the table. And fun fact, when Calvin hits the skull, he actually hurt himself, Leonardo DiCaprio did, and Mr. Tarantino puts it in the movie. Why? Because it's bloodied up, and that's the idea of the movie. Well, yeah. And now I know they're fucked. That scene made me fucking nervous. That's when they decide to buy Hildy as a slave, and when Calvin writes the receipt, Beethoven is playing, and Dr. Schultz thinks about the moment when dogs killed the one motherfucker earlier in the film, and is annoyed by the image and refuses to shake Calvin's hand, and Dr. Schultz shoots and he gets shot, and Django and Calvin's men have a shoot-off, which was an exciting moment of the film, and they get Hildy and hold her hostage, and Steven tells Django to give up and accepts and gets knocked out, and the next day, Django is stripped and tortured by one of Calvin's men, and Steven, which was frightening but a well-shot scene, Django gets caged up by a cameo of Mr. Tarantino himself, playing one of the men who cages Django and some other motherfuckers, and Django makes them an offer and shoots Mr. Tarantino and two other men down and go back to Candyland and to get Hildy, and Django gets her alive and shoots and blows up Candyland with Steven, and Django and Hildy make it out alive, and that climax is Mr. Tarantino great at best. But it is a long one, I will admit. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.7 out of 10. This is a great Western story with a hero that isn't John Wayne, and Mr. Tarantino pulls off the violence very well, and the script is golden, and I'm very glad Mr. Tarantino won the Oscar for the Best Original Screenplay. This is a very tremendous piece of work. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be talking about The Hateful Eight. And until next time, and action.